This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
Your top 5 guide to getting ahead in business.
And a warm welcome to the studio to our guest. Karl Feilder is the founder and chairman of the Neutral Group and is a regional expert on biofuels. Karl, thanks for coming in.
Hi there.
You have an interesting background. Tell us a bit about your company, the Neutral Group. What do you do here in the region?
Neutral Group decided 13 years ago we were going to try and help large organisations to reduce their carbon footprint and save the planet. And we've focused on that for the last 12 years in the UAE. And for the last 8 years, we've been the biggest biofuels producer in the Middle East, working with McDonald's and Nestle and Del Monte and a bunch of other companies.
Okay, what I quite like about you is your attitude. Obviously, you are very passionate about the environment, but there's a funny quote that we have from a speech that you made, and I think it's interesting. It's a keynote address you made a couple of months ago, and I think it's quite important because people hear biofuel and they just think you're probably someone crazy about saving the planet, and you can get a bit of a bad reputation. So this is your response to that.
Good morning. Welcome to Oracle Open World. My name is Karl Feilder, and I have to tell you, I'm sorry, but I'm not an environmentalist. I'm just trying to save the planet. This planet, the one we live on, the one we can't do without.
And I think that's quite an interesting perspective. You're not saying I'm an environmentalist. I am looking to help in a way that I can. So I want to hear your top 5 tips because you particularly have made a great effort to run a socially conscious business too.
That's a really interesting concept. I'd say since 1995, in my second startup, we've had a huge proportion of ladies in the company, and that's mostly because they're better than men in most roles.
Oh, amazing.
There we go.
Thanks.
But I'm not really ever consciously said I want to be socially responsible, just as I'm not environmentalist. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I think if you sit down for 5 minutes and think about it, the right thing normally ends up doing something that is responsible. But in terms of top 5 tips, I would say there's 5 things that I've learned over all the years. They match together to make P, R, I, D and E. And If you get it right, you end up with pride in your organisation. And that sounds a bit nutty, but that's the way it is.
Okay, let's start with the first one.
Number 1.
So you want to assemble a great team.
Yeah, P is for people. If you don't get the right people in an organisation, then it won't work. I wrote my master's thesis on it. I'm in the middle of a PhD on the subject of how you recruit the right people into startup culture. There is a psychometric profile for them.
And we hear time and time again, hiring the wrong people is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make.
That's very true. If you get it wrong, especially in a small company, it's going to cost you a lot of money and time is the thing you don't have.
Number 2.
So you want to suggest to people that they should be focusing on a product or a service which solves a real problem, something we hear a lot on this programme.
Yeah, that's definitely about a responsible choice of what you're going to do as a business. I would suggest that now, as we're about to re-engineer the entire global economy in the next 20 years in order to become net zero, that every business should be focused on becoming net zero. And if you're going to do a startup, do it in a sustainable space.
So what's number 3?
So number 3 is about going into the market and selling what you've got.
Yeah, you've got to innovate, but you've got to innovate something that sells. Most people spend their time on some sort of weird system where they think they write a PowerPoint presentation, they go and pitch to some investors, they get a load of money, and somehow that makes a successful business. Best thing you can do is to innovate something really creative and something that really is novel.
Number 4.
So this is about looking at investors. Some people will say, start it, go for it, get it done. And other people say, go and get the money first.
Yeah, this is about decision making. That's my D. You've got to decide very early on in the business if you're going to be somebody that goes and chases money or you go out and find customers. I think you lose first mover advantage frequently if you don't go out and find customers. And if you get feedback from VCs and investors, they're always going to tell you, do it this way, do it that way, do it the other way. But none of them's going to buy the product. Best people to give you feedback are actually customers.
And finally,
number 5.
So this is about pride in your team, I guess, and that is what you've based your 5 pillars essentially on.
It's about excellence of execution. I know it sounds a bit nutty, but PRIDE, if you do excel in what you do and you're all proud of what you do, you will make a successful company. You'll get up in the morning proud to do what you do, proud to sell your product. You'll be proud of the people that you work with. They'll be proud of what they do and their families will support them. And that's what you need in any startup, is the family support.
It's a really good concept, isn't it?
Yeah, and I particularly, having listened to all 5 of them, I particularly agree with the D, the decision making. A lot of people run out, start up and then start running after money rather than going the other way around. Start your business and then money will run after you, believe me.
Okay, that's all we've got time for. Amazing tips from Karl Feilder. I think they're really interesting. George is definitely nodding away. So big thank you for coming in and sharing your tips. Karl Feilder is a serial entrepreneur. He is the founder and chairman of the Neutral Group and CEO of Neutral Fuels. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.